Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's show presented by Panda Subs. If you're looking for the protein that I use, if you're looking for the fat burners that I use, then make sure you go to pandasubs.com. Make sure you use code Preseason, 25% off, and this is a limited time deal. Coming up here, holy eyeballs, the top 10 players to watch against the Los Angeles Rams this Saturday. Jeremy Chuggs and I, we're going to be live for Raiders' second preseason game up against the Rams. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got those notifications turned on because we're going to be live an hour before kickoff. So 8 p.m. Eastern time. Chuggs and I are going to be getting wild here. Last week, Raider Ron made me get a tattoo. And I'm going to be getting that Raiders tattoo August 31st live here on the Raiders Report. So put that in your calendar. I don't know what's going to happen in the second preseason game. All I know is it's going to be a great time, and hopefully y'all are tuned in and ready to be watching. So subscribe live 8 Eastern time is when we're going to be. That's when we're going to be starting. Let's just say that. All right, coming up here now is our top 10 players to watch, and I have them ranked from 10, working my way all the way down to 1. At number 10, I'm going to go with Malcolm Koonce here. He was a solid player last week up against the Niners. He showed some good burst here and there. Like, if you need a player to be able to get after the quarterback, third down, like, that's where Koonce is at his best. Quarterback pressures, pinning his ears back, going after and getting the QB. If you need him in the run defense game, that's just simply not where he excels at. I want Malcolm to make this team, and I do think he's gotten the raw end of the deal in terms of NFL careers, right? You come into the NFL in 2020. It's a COVID year. Brand new defensive coordinator in 2021. Another brand new defensive coordinator in 2022. That's also a lie. In 2021, he came in the NFL. 2022, brand new DCs, just had a different defensive coordinator every single freaking season. That doesn't help you out. Finally gets a second year in a Patrick Graham system. I'm curious to see what he's able to do. Let's go to number 9 here. It's Tre Tucker. Like, Tre Tucker, you saw the burst, you saw the quickness, you saw the vertical speed last week, but, and that's the big but, 2 big drops. 1 catch for 15 yards. He could have had a 40-yard seam route. Dropped it. It was a really tough catch. And then the other ball was on third down. I don't think he would have got the first. But the biggest thing that Tre needs to be able to do is, we know that he's a dynamic athlete. Can you put it together, though, on Sundays? I need to see it this week up against the Rams. At number 8, it's Jakorian Bennett. And I had a friend ask me, yo, Mitch, why haven't we heard too much about Jakorian this week at joint practices against the Rams? They don't really throw his way. Like, he is still out there balling. He is a great rookie player. Last week up against the Niners, had 2 tackles, didn't have any PBUs. But I'm telling you, press man coverage is where this young man excels. It's going to be Marcus Peters. It's going to be Jakorian Bennett. And it's going to be Nate Hobbs. Those are going to be your top 3 starting corners during the regular season. And I'm hoping we get to see a little bit more from Jakorian up against the Rams this week. Now, this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. I want you to name a player that you're going to be watching against the Rams. And I'm sure some of y'all are going to be having the top names that are on today's show. But if you get a second, let me know. Name a player you're watching against L.A. Let's go to the next name here on the list, Amik Robertson. And the reason why I'm putting Amik up here is because he's competing for a roster spot. If you would have told me a few months ago that Robertson had a legit shot at making this 53-man roster, I would have said you're crazy. He's not a McDaniels guy. They have other players that they like, but Robertson's ability to play inside and out slot, he's a tenacious guy. Had a PFF grade of 52.1. Not great, no doubt about it. However, though, Nate Hobbs has missed some practice time. Nate Hobbs was out at practice on Thursday. Robertson's been working with some of the starters. He's been working with some of the second team. Robertson, if he wants to make this roster, he needs to continue to play well in practice and in the preseason. At number 6, and I don't even know if Byron Young's going to be playing up against the Rams, but I got to watch this young man right here. He did not have the best game up against the 49ers, and that's saying a lot considering the fact that the Raiders' defensive line played great against San Francisco. In fact, out of the 31 graded players on defense, according to PFF, The player with the lowest PFF grade was Byron Young at 42.8. And I'll always say that I don't take everything that PFF has to say. Like, I watch tape and then I'll look at PFF grades, and if both of them add up to me, I'll be like, okay, that works out. But like when you see some PFF grades and you watch the tape, I'm like, it doesn't tell the whole story. This does tell the story. He missed joint practice on Thursday, so it is up in the air whether or not he's going to play. He's obviously going to make the team being a third-round pick, but the defensive tackle room right now is super competitive thanks to Rob Leonard, the Raiders' great defensive line coach. And if Byron doesn't start picking it up, Raiders are going to have some tough decisions to make. Let's go to number 5 here on my list. I'm going to go Thayer Munford. And Munford was good against the Niners last week. But to me, if Jermaine Illuminor is here, right, Munford's probably about here. And Dalton Wagner, he's got to be right there. Wagner was spectacular this past week. But Munford, 23 snaps at right tackle, had about a 75 grade from PFF, which was good. But the way that beat reporters are hyping up Munford, like the tape compared to the PFF grades did not match up. PFF had him up here. My grade for his performance probably would have been down here. He's a good player, 7th round pick, but if he wants to actually compete for that starting right tackle spot and not lose his job to Dalton Wagner, I need to see more this upcoming week from Los Angeles. Now, we still got some more names to get to here, but remember, today's show is presented by Panda Subs. They've been a longtime sponsor here on the Raiders Report, and I mean a longtime sponsor. Owned by a diehard Raider fan, and he's here to hook you guys up with some protein supplements. I recommend trying the chocolate if you got a sweet tooth. The cookies and cream, super, super sweet on top of that. I mean, Chug said he's a big fan of vanilla because you can mix that with the berries. On top of that, the fruity cereal is really, really good. It tastes like the milk from after you get done eating Fruity Pebbles. Like, that's what it tastes like. I'm not even kidding you. And then, yes, the brand new 2 flavors. I've been buying some Panda Subs for a few guys here around the office, and they don't believe me that it's actually good for you. I'm telling you this right now. If you got a sweet tooth, somebody who's after the gym, but for me personally, it's like 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. And I know some of y'all are celebrate, let's just say 420. Make a milkshake with this instead of ice cream. It's going to go a long way, I promise. Go to pandasubs.com. Code is preseason for 25% off the best tasting premium protein out there. It's got casein protein. It's got whey protein. It's going to also curb that appetite, which I know I definitely need. Let's go to the next player here to watch in the Raiders preseason game up against the Rams. I'm going to go running back Zamir White. Zamir was one of my winners last week. However, he was a winner because he got a lot of work. And I know that if Josh Jacobs doesn't get his shit together, that they are going to use Zamir. He had 13 carries last week for 43 yards. He averaged 3.3 yards per carry and a touchdown. Was Aidan O'Connell great? No doubt about it. But the offense realistically ran through the running game, and that's how it's going to go. You know that the Rams, if Aaron Donald's out there, I don't think Donald's going to be, but he might be, that the Rams have a good interior defensive line. And I want to see how Zamir bounces back this week. Does he have better vision? Because he's a bowling ball. And if you don't have good vision, the bowling ball doesn't roll the way that you want it to. At number 3, he's ranked really high for some people. But if you didn't pay attention to how great Dalton Wagner was, and this is one of those names where when you do a post-game reaction show, when you do winners and losers very, very late, right? Like what you grade is more of what you see straight up. When I went back and I watched the tape, I was like, dude, this Dalton Wagner kid, phenomenal. My guy Sanjit, if you want best offensive line news coverage for Raiders guys, Sanjit's that guy. He was ranting and raving about Dalton Wagner. And then what happens? PFF grades come out, 89.3. My point is this. When the tape, when PFF, when Sanjit, when it all comes together for Raiders, that's when you need to start paying attention. Because Wagner right now, if it was up to me, he's got a legit shot to make this 53. He is everything that Carmen Brasil looks for in an offensive lineman. He's 6'8". He's 320 pounds. He's long. He's lanky. He's strong. He was straight abusing dudes in the running game. Like, Wagner, when he was first coming out of college from Arkansas, he was a below-average pass blocker, but an above-average run blocker. And if he's able to put the pass blocking together on top of his ability to really, truly lay the wood when it comes to run blocking, it's going to be fun to see what ends up happening with Wagner. He's definitely a player that y'all need to watch. So let's just say the Raiders can only keep one UDFA offensive lineman. With the absence of Brandon Parker now, and Justin Herron stinks. Like, he's terrible. So to me, if I'm the Raiders, I know I'm keeping Jermaine Illuminor. I know I'm going to keep Thayer Munford. What about after that? Who are you going to keep at offensive tackle? Do you decide to keep both McClendon Curtis and Dalton Wagner? But let's just play a game here. Let's say you can only keep one. Do you keep McClendon Curtis, or do you keep Dalton Wagner? Type MC or type DW. If it's up to me right now, I will still say that I'm going to keep McClendon Curtis, because to me, he's the better overall offensive lineman prospect. On top of that, I do think that Curtis can actually play tackle. He's probably just going to play guard, but I will say that he, to me, is still the best overall offensive lineman prospect. But if when it's all said and done, if the Raiders decide to keep both of those young men, it really wouldn't shock me all that much. Now, remember, if you guys want to hit me up on Twitter, IG, at MitchellRens365, and here's another list of players. It's more of a, when I do this show, I try to think of more from preseason aspect. Like, if Garoppolo, Renfrow, Meyers, Davante Adams, Crosby, Chandler Jones, Marcus Peters, Tre'von Moehrig, Marcus Epps, Divine Deablo, if any of these players play, duh, you should watch them. And if you don't, you're an idiot. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. But these are not players that I'm putting on this show, because it's more for the UDFAs, rookies, bottom of the roster bubble, the players that actually make sense to watch during the preseason. However, coming in here at number 2, dude, I can't wait to watch Aidan O'Connell again, man. Dude was straight out there just roasting the defense. 15 of 18 last week for 141 yards. Realistically, should have been 17 of 18 if Tre Tucker could have caught those 2 balls. 1 touchdown, a quarterback rating of 117.8. But it's just the command of the offense. And for his first preseason action, for how good he was, I do not blame Raider Nation for getting excited. Does that mean you should bench Jimmy Garoppolo? No, not at all. But O'Connell is definitely somebody that I know every single person's probably watching. And, man, number 1's got to be this. It's got to be Tyree Wilson. I don't know if Wilson's going to play. He's been very limited during joint practice for Raiders and the Rams. However, if he goes out there and he plays, you're dumb if you don't watch him. He was the number 7 overall pick. The Raiders, they need all the defensive help that they can get. He has not played a game since November 12th when he suffered that injury up against the Kansas Jayhawks. The Raiders have been, taking it nice and slow. They don't want to rush him at all, but the fact that he's out there, the fact that he's been practicing, I want to see what Wilson looks like in live action. And now, if he's not 100% ready to go, then he shouldn't be practicing. That's how I look at it right now. The fact that he's practicing, his butt better be out there. Week 2 against the Rams, and it's got to be number 1. It's got to be Tyree Wilson. So here are my Raiders to watch up against the Los Angeles Rams. And friendly reminder, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, this is your opportunity right now to go down to the comments section and let me know. If you want to take a screenshot of this, share it on social media, tag me, tag Chugs. Anytime you guys do that, we obviously appreciate it, because the more that people do that kind of stuff, the more that this show can continue to grow. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and make sure you're tuned in with Chugs and I when we go live. Raiders, Rams on Saturday. This thing's going to be getting kicked off, started 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be wild, no doubt about that. So hopefully we see you there.